medieval people imagined the earth as the still centre of a moving cosmos. Their cosmos is vast but finite, and it's a set of nested, transparent, moving spheres. Thinkers sometimes use the analogy of an onion, and the onion is particularly good because of its layers. So we need to think of the cosmos as layers of nested spheres. Each layer, each sphere is moving, and as they move, they are influencing the world below. This cosmos comes from an Aristotelian model, which has a perfect celestial realm, from the sphere of the moon up through all the spheres of the planets, and an imperfect, corruptible, physical world. Into this pagan model, Christian thinkers inserted Christian ideas, and above all, God, angels, demons, as beings in the cosmos. And medieval people imagined themselves living in a world swarming with invisible spirits. We looked first at a copy of the Ars Notoria. This is a 12th century magic text that modern historians have categorised as angel magic, because it is a magic text with spiritual goals. The goals are to do with having an infusion of knowledge of all the earthly arts, and indeed of heaven and God. If you complete all the rituals of this text, which may take up to 3 years, the text even promises a vision of God. So these are pious goals, the sort of goals that a good Christian, a virtuous Christian might aspire to, but the means to get there would be problematic for critics of this text. The angels look orthodox. They're holding crosses, but they're pointing to very strange shapes, magical characters, symbols, shapes and symbols that would have appeared unusual to medieval people as well. If you're a magical practitioner reading this text, you might see them as symbols of constellations, so shapes that both represent the stars and images within the stars, but also were used then to draw down the power of the stars. If you are a critic or suspicious of magic, however, you would look at these magical characters and probably interpret them as a language to communicate with demons. We looked at a 15th century demon conjuring manuscript in the Bodleian. To conjure demons for a magical practice was the most transgressive kind of magic that anyone could do in the Middle Ages. It's clear that although we have instructions within these demonic conjuring manuals to have an invisibility cloak, a flying horse, to have the favour of a powerful lord, it's clear that there's also a level of curiosity. People are interested in having a spiritual experience, in what a demon might be like, just as with the Ars Notoria, what an angel might be like. There is a very interesting type of medical image called a planet man. We have a naked figure with a sort of strange blue-grey pallor, and this suggests the idea that we're looking at a corpse, even though his eyes are opened, or that death is thinking about death is part of the image. At the centre of the image, it looks like an autopsy. The internal organs are exposed to view, and there are fine golden lines linking the individual organs to two planets. The sun is the larger one above the figure, and the moon is black and in the lower part of the figure. Physicians, medical practitioners who used this image would use it to understand that there were particular times when a planet was in a particular position in heaven and influencing the organ within the body, that these were times that you wouldn't want to cut open the body. There was an interest from the 13th century in universities in properties and processes that didn't fit the laws of nature, that were considered extraordinary, and these came under the category of natural magic. Mandrake roots were thought to have all sorts of extraordinary properties, from making someone fall in love with you to curing baldness. In many of the medieval stories about this plant, it actually killed you if you pulled it up. So you tie it to a dog, and then you persuade the dog to pull it out by holding a bowl of meat just out of the dog's reach, and then the dog dies, and you get to keep the mandrake and cure your illness, or make someone fall in love with you, or stop being bald. This idea of magic is actually quite closely linked to what's called magical thinking. Magical thinking is a term that psychologists use when anyone thinks or feels that something they say or do has an effect on the real world that it can't have according to the scientific laws of cause and effect. So when we think we have a lucky object, for example, when we worry about tempting fate and walk around a ladder, we think magically when we perform rituals when we're feeling anxious, when we wear lucky shoes, when we go to play football, when we take a lucky object into an interview or an exam. And actually psychologists say that if you really believe in the power of your lucky object, then it gives you an extra confidence that probably does help you. All these ways of thinking really link to what people in the Middle Ages were doing when they were practicing magic.